Hey, Carmell, welcome to Education Next. And, we are on this amazing journey of learning about different homeschooling and unschooling and world schooling parents and, what are they up to? And with the Washington Post recently saying that, there's a rise in number of homeschooling in USA. And that really led us to, talk to amazing people who are practicing this because I think they are the real heroes. So welcome to the show and just say hi to us and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Priyanka, so much for having me. It's really great to see you. Well, I am, I guess, what we would call a veteran homeschooler or global schooler at this point. My son is now 17. He graduated high school at age 13 and then went into college and now has 4 associate's degrees, summa cum laude. And we definitely, and he's kind of deciding where, if he's going to choose to continue with university or is he going to continue to be an entrepreneur? It was never like, here's your path. We're going to do it the traditional way. And here you go. My whole thing, whenever I started homeschooling, global schooling, nearly 13, 14 years ago now, was that I just wanted to make sure that he had every single option open to him, as opposed to just operating within the construct set before him. So when he was 4, that's when I officially decided it would be homeschooling, because I was in Los Angeles and everybody was saying, oh, you've got to get on this list and you have to get on this list and you need to do this and jump through all these hoops just to get your child some semblance of worldly education. And I thought to myself, that seems really limiting, right? To just kind of keep up with the Joneses whenever we should all just have access to learn. And so I started one day on the beach is exactly how our homeschool journey started. And we just started, and it was imperative that my son spoke another language from the get-go. And so we up and moved to Costa Rica at age 4. And that's where we officially started the global schooling experience. Please pardon me, Priyanka, I have some allergies this morning.
That's completely fine.
Yeah, and so we started, and in the beginning, whenever he was young, 1, 2, 3, 4, again, it was this entire, like, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? I was like, I just really want to let him think. But it didn't stop me from researching and learning. I definitely started developing my curricula from the shoulders of giants. I studied Maria Montessori, Rudolf Steiner, Reggio Emilia. And Reggio Emilia method is really where I found the most synergy. And so it was from that method that I really, really started to dive into my own tangential learning curricula. And I thought it was just going to be homeschooling or global schooling at first. And then what I realized is that I really dove in. And I created my own method that is rooted in emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence, and neuroscience. So I started designing the curricula according to where my son was in his developmental phase. Boys different than girls, boy brain different than girl brain. I would meet him where he was with his brain development from a neuroscience perspective, and then a social and emotional intelligence perspective as well. And I started just designing curricula. And then when my son was about 10, 11, he started co-creating the curricula with me. And so it was always a collaborative effort. I was a single mom, and it was just, okay, how are we going to get this done? And it was just remarkable. And my whole idea was just to teach him to learn, to love to learn, and let him think. I didn't want to force feed him anything. It was always like, okay, how are you going to overcome this obstacle, right? And give him the tools to do so. Yeah. So there's a lot to it. It's multi-dimensional, because I didn't I didn't just subscribe to a curricula and say, here we go. And that's totally great, because there are, I'm sure you've learned so many different flavors of
Okay.
homeschooling,
Mm-hmm.
so many. And it's awesome that we have these options. I'm very grateful for them. But I didn't, even then in the homeschooling, unschooling, all of that world, there wasn't anything that I really just was like, okay, that's what we identify with. That's what we're going to do. And so we just kind of created our own thing and kept going. And it's just, and we still co-create curricula today. We have a podcast, we work together. My son is my business partner, and like I said, he's now 17, and it's pretty fun. Academia, huge for our family, very important for our family, but not in the sense that you must do this and earn these blue ribbons and accolades to prove who you are. No, that's not what it's about. It was actually quite the opposite. You already are. You are this person, and I'm going to do everything I can to preserve who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to, and you choose to go toward these accolades and all of that, great. You're just opening different doors for yourselves, but that doesn't measure who you are. And so I never did the grades. I never did the blue ribbons, all of that stuff. But nonetheless, my son actually really thrives in an academic structure.
Mm-hmm.
He just absolutely loves it. Yeah, it's there's so much. I'm happy to answer anything you'd like to know.
I mean, it's really, really interesting, because like you said, it's not like, there is a fixed way of, looking at things, that freedom that you have, right? Um, I think that makes us amazing, right? Because you don't feel limited. And I think it comes from, when you are a very, you want to go into an adventure with your kid, right? You want to, because there are so many things on a day-to-day basis when you are learning with them. You are still learning. You still keep finding new things every day, and then you have a spark as well. Okay, this is like this, and when you explain and when you discuss, it becomes beautiful. And then one question leads to another, and I think it's more like
Yes.
it becomes very, very organic, rather than just going through a fixed set of things, concisely built. And you know for kids, I'm sure it's very difficult to limit their learning, because it's like, okay, and then what? And they want to ask. And when you become the mentor or the guide
Yes.
or the person behind them, not telling them but exploring together, it becomes very, very beautiful.
I
And
love that you say exploring together, because there's so much that I found that became a collaborative effort, and so many other homeschool families that I know are the same way. I believe that because you can explore things together, because there is that freedom, you can really create different indelible bonds with your children that maybe you wouldn't have the opportunity to if they were in a brick and wall classroom. And the freedom piece, I hear that, but make no mistake, I mean, it's still, you have to choose, in my opinion, you have to choose that freedom. And it's not just like, oh, I don't feel like getting up in the morning, so therefore I'm going to homeschool. I mean, you really have to choose to know that I'm doing this because it's a better option for my child. And I think that when we do that, I don't know about anybody else, but oh my gosh, I basically started learning then. I didn't learn anything before,
I
but
know,
as a
I can
homeschooling
relate.
mama, oh my gosh, I have learned so very much. And now
I
my
know.
son just teaches me. I'm just like, okay, I'll sit here and learn.
I know. And there are so many things, because like you said something very interesting, that becoming a partner, and now that it grows up to, that relationship grows up so beautiful, that you have been learning together, and it's easy to work together because you can collaborate. And when you love someone so much, and then you are on the same, page of growing and sharing ideas, and I can totally understand the kind of partnership that you can have together, right? And I can sense that when you talk about, becoming a business partner, and teaching each
Yeah.
other, learning from each other, and because I think this is this one place where you can stay very true to each other, right? You can share anything,
Yes.
what's happening, and that,
Yeah.
right. So that partnership part is something that, I really like the idea of taking that relationship and, you know, taking to something where you can grow and learn and build something together, you know, explore something that sparks both of you and then build something from that. And I think many homeschooling parents are doing that. And I wrote some time ago about, how the homeschooling children grow up to become, they have this entrepreneurial mindset, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's, they they are learning, living, failing, right? they
The failure is so important.
they, they are making projects together all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
everything becomes like a project now. Schools talk about project based learning, and then again that kind of strictness and curriculum comes in. But when you are doing projects organically together,
Mm-hmm.
and you make something, sometimes you fail, and then keep building together, keep learning, that makes it amazing. So what do you say of that?
Oh, I mean, you absolutely nailed it. It's interesting. You just said failure, and I believe I just put a piece of content out a couple days ago that was just my son and I were talking about failure, and I think that you're going to completely understand this. This is another thing that you get to cultivate with your child, is a very honest relationship, and to where they don't feel shame for saying, mom, dad, I call bullshit. I just don't agree with you,
Hmm.
or that didn't work for me. Your child can actually say, I don't really agree. And with my son, we just have a very open and honest relationship. And we were talking about failure the other day, and it was interesting. Some of the things, not shocking. Like I said, I'm a single mama entrepreneur, so I've succeeded and I've failed, and to hear his perspective on my failures. And we kind of had this conversation all around it, and came back to, yes, but there's so much lesson and learning, and there's so many successes within the failures. And we have this phrase that we've used for years. It's called the mortar of the moments. And like you touched on earlier, Priyanka, learning really truly is everywhere. It's everywhere. You can be walking down the street and there's a crack in the sidewalk, and you can have an expansive conversation about a crack in the sidewalk, if we're allowed to actually do that. And so when we open them up to being lifelong, learners, and they can learn from anything, it's just, you really open up so many more opportunities for your child. But anyway, I digress. We were talking about the failure bit, and the mortar of the moments are, yes, I failed at that. I wholeheartedly admit that. Stings a little. However, we both saw the successes within those failures. And the big point here is that wasn't about me going, oh, I need to shove this, this sting or this emotion underneath my wings and act like it didn't happen. Because what would that do? How would that set my son as a young man up in the world? Okay, stuff your failures, make sure you have shame for your failures, and then go out into the world. No, if we own what's going on and we don't bring our own emotional stigma, our own attachments, our own baggage to the problem, and we just go, yeah, this is an experience, it is what it is, they can then witness us not attaching a bunch of shame to something, or witness us not, better yet, putting our shame upon them.
Okay.
So then whenever he goes out and fails in the world, and inevitably he will, then perhaps he won't be as prone to beating himself up so much, and this is just something, it's again, seeing the successes in the mortar of the moments, seeing everything for what it could potentially be without attaching some sort of shame to it. And this has just been an underlying theme, throughout our entire process. So yeah, I hear you.
Also, now, with that there was a time when I'm still, I mean, in India it's still a thing, to be schooling very differently from what other countries, because everybody goes to a school. right? So having a different opinion on the education. And I have been, working in school. I worked in school, and my son was going to a traditional school. But once we got the taste of learning the way we want to, there was no going back. And
No.
I can't imagine myself going back anytime. But like I said, that once you know how it is, how organic it becomes, um, you don't feel alone, actually, to be frank. And like another thing that you mentioned is, it's not because you're lazy to wake up in the morning. It's more work, and it's more
Yeah.
vigilance, and you because there is something within you that doesn't let you stop learning, and it makes your day exciting, and it makes you passionate about what you're doing every day,
Yes.
constantly. And I think that now that it's there, media is talking about it, and you are not some vampire, um, hiding behind you. There's so many. I realize that there's so
Hmm.
many people doing this, and not because we are lazy. It's because you want to do it, you love. And what do you think of this? What do you call this, a movement, the shift that is happening now?
Oh, I want to and will believe, because I'm optimistic in that sense, that it's a sense of awakening, that perhaps we are realizing that we have far more of our human potential to tap into. Um, I think that we've hardly touched on what we're capable of as humans through every revolution and all of history. We've done things a certain way as a collective society, and maybe it's not working so well, and maybe there's just on the other side there's something we can tap into. And I think that by those of us parents that are looking at the education system, it's in the United States, we obviously have, more freedoms and less stigma than other places, depending on where you are, um, when it comes to public education and such. So I definitely understand my privilege there. But I think that whenever we are doing this for our kids and allowing them this choice, actually you don't have to just do it like this. There are many other ways, and they're just as valid, if not more. You have an opportunity to learn more. It's just we're putting the empower holding the empowerment within our kids' hands instead of taking it away, because I firmly believe that as soon as our children go into a public school system, that we are uh, partnering in disempowering their true being. I do. um, and it isn't, I speak to this and I realize that I can kind of push the envelope on that one. And I had mentioned earlier that it's a choice, and you have to work at it in order to homeschool your child. There's no doubt about it. But anyone can do it, at least here. There are definitely special measures you have to take. In certain states we have different rules. But if I can do it, anyone can do it. I think there's also a semblance that you have to come from a certain privilege, or you have to be a
Hmm.
kept house, stay at home mom, and you have to have a certain income to homeschool. And it's absolutely positively not true. I struggled, frankly, much of my son's childhood financially. And it was side hustle, this, do this, do this. But guess what I did? I packed all of the things of getting through around educating him. And
Hmm.
then again, with that collaboration, if I owned a business, my son would greet the clients, bring them their tea, their registration forms, and he came to the office with me and we had things set up. My point is that you can do it as a struggling single parent, and I'm here to prove that. And it doesn't have to be something that, oh well, she just does it because she's a lady of leisure. No, I made a very vigilant choice to hold space for my child. And I think that as soon as people kind of own the fact that they actually can have this choice, and it takes a lot of effort, that we can continue to tap into that potential that our kids have, as long as we don't disempower them from the get-go.
Beautiful, beautiful. I can relate to you, like, I don't know how to put this, like everything that you say, I can relate to you so much because, every time, I think people judge based on that, you can do it and that's the reason you're doing. But like you said, it's never easy. It's never easy. The stress is always there. And you are struggling for one thing or the other. But when you are, like you said, holding space, for your kid, when you have to do it, you just do it. And you find
There's no
ways.
question.
And you find ways. And I mean, why not? Like you did, involving your child in your business, and look at the exposure you gave him so early. Like he would have waited like 25 years or 24 years to do the same thing that eh, you did with him at a very early
Yeah.
age. And that's the reason that a lot of cultural identity and a lot of family identities have started diluting, right? Because people want to do something which everyone is doing, and children, they lose that sort of attachment or with their culture, with their beliefs, and they go very far away to only have that loneliness in them. And when you are growing with your kid together, facing, I think a lot of things I could not discuss with my parents because I was never with them. I never thought they could be friends.
Yes.
I never thought it was possible. I could never understand the strength I could have got from my family. I'm sure if I would have trusted them at a very early age, a lot of mistakes that I did, I wouldn't have made, because I would have told them. I wouldn't be hiding, right? And I
Yes.
shared that relationship with my son. I think I can say that really, in a proud way, that I share that it's transparent. We share, we talk. You want to talk about anything, and it's not that artificially, just because I saw that and I'm just practicing. It's very organic, like having a friend around
Yes.
and talking about it. And I am sure that he will have that trusted person. He will see that thing, and he will always uh, turn and ask me, or share with me, and I will be able to share the mistakes I had made. And
Yes.
had there been my family been around, it would have been great. But that disassociation happens, and something with the traditional way, it just takes away. And I think we are in good times. What do you say, that now it's there, people are talking, writing, speaking, having arguments. That's a great sign, don't you think?
Absolutely. It just means that people are being forced to think, even if they didn't really want to in the first place. That's true. You did touch on, you were talking about being transparent and being able to share with your son, and him witnessing you have a certain struggle or a certain lack of communication or making mistakes, right? And mistakes are just experience. Again, with our children witnessing all the facets of us, and no, it isn't always pretty. And I think that we have such a mental health crisis, occurring, because I think so many of us maybe were raised with don't express this portion of yourself, don't do this. And when we're in this position where we can actually be transparent with our children. Now, I'm not saying, take all your baggage and all of your drama and throw it on your child. Of course not. I mean, we understand that there are developmental appropriate boundaries that we need to cultivate. But when they get to see that in us, I mean, the social emotional health that they are cultivating, and the emotional intelligence that they gain from this, it sets them up for such success in the world, in my opinion, because they get to see the human for all the different phases and facets that we experience on a daily basis. And not to mention the intergenerational exposure that they have. They're not just talking to one person or one kind of person all the time in a classroom. And there's so much support with homeschooling and global schooling. And that's what you were saying. Now it's everywhere. And there are co-ops and there are learning centers. And I don't know about you, but there are certain things I positively could not be in charge of teaching, like math, algebra, calc. Oh, no. We don't want me teaching that. And I think it's so important that we, as homeschooling parents, recognize our strengths and recognize the things that we're not so great at, and be super transparent about that, because we can find a community to farm that out. There's so much support. So I would send my son to different groups to go learn other things that I couldn't really handle in a way that would serve him best. And again, it's about serving him, not serving me. And I love that we have so many different communities cropping up all over the world, and it's just outstanding. And being a nomad parent, I mean, this kind of blew up since 2020. And I was kind of like, wow, I've been doing this for years, and I know some of your other peers in the group of like MaNaBu and all of that, they've just been nomads. And there's just, when you can introduce and immerse your family in other cultures, what's better? Like, isn't that what this is all about? It's exciting to me. But thank you.
Like you said,
Get excited.
You have been doing it. And see, this is the excitement that I see in, people who are into it, and then you are a thought leader because, you've practiced it, like, not that because there was a rage of thing going around, because you felt doing it. And now you are in a stage that you see, oh, wow, so many people are doing it. It's exciting. You can talk about it, you can share your experiences, and it becomes a community of people talking about it. And like you said, there is the world schooling, term is, it's so much there. A lot of people who wanted to travel and take children around and help them discover cultures and traditions and languages can do this now, because there is no limitation to the way you can learn. There's alternate. Okay, if somebody wants document, well, I'm going to register my child into an alternate learning system, and here you have this if you want it for the state, because there are online schooling options. There are, options to, there are so many things. And I think the beauty here is that, for example, my son loves to code, right? He realized that he likes to code. He's 10 years old, but he likes it, right? And and the best thing I can't teach him, like you said. I don't know anything about it, but yes, I can find people who can help him. And when you have this community, people reach out to each other, like it used to happen in olden days. You exchange, right? You have a skill, I have a skill, and we can exchange.
Yes.
The gift economy. We learn from each other, like you are doing now, and like I am doing. We are exchanging our gifts, right? And I think that can make this world, I'm sure, a beautiful place to live in, where there is no bar of you living with such a time difference. But there is I don't know, there is something that clicks, and we can always share. And I really admire the way you are talking about, the EQ, about how important emotional intelligence is, and how it is not looked at in the schools at all. And these are the things we can pick from each other and take it. And glad that we are at times where this movement, this shift is happening. And just before we wrap up, anything that you would like to say to people who are, thinking or to make this shift, what would you like to say?
Oh, trust yourself, but before you trust yourself, trust your children. Understand that they have the capability. They are able to do this learning. They are able to do things differently. More than able, they'll thrive if given the opportunity. You know, just with the emotional intelligence piece alone, we're the stewards of these future leaders as parents, right? And these future leaders are the stewards of this planet, and they need as much emotional intelligence and resources and ability to adapt to a very rapidly changing world right now. And if they are in a traditional school system, those tools of resourcefulness and adaptability are hijacked fully, because they're not there to cultivate emotional intelligence. They're there to have a linear way of thinking. And these are our leaders. And if we, potentially, I believe we can probably agree that there needs to be some shift in leadership. And the only way we're going to do that is if we hold space for these future leaders to have resilience, grit, emotional intelligence, adaptability, compassion, and back to what I was saying, trust in themselves. So if we hold the line and make sure our kids can still trust themselves, that's the tether. That's the tether that they need. They don't need to outsource their common sense. They don't need a phone or a watch to tell them how to think or when their heart beats. They need to partner with technology. They need to understand that, wow, technology is incredible and we can do so much with it. But I'm this beautiful ball of potential, and I can actually choose how to adapt to these moments and how to move forward. And I think that it's more about the preserving our kids' own power. And you can do it. It's a matter of putting a little faith in yourself and in your kids.
Wow. I can't really express how wonderful it has been speaking to you for the last 30 minutes. It's like I'm meeting someone, like I would like to come back to you again and again, because it's so fulfilling, this conversation, I feel, and I'm glad I found you. And, Andreas, I don't know if you see his page, he suggested me to talk to you, and wow, thank God. Because I think
he's amazing. They're amazing. They're doing such great stuff.
Yeah, and I'm so thankful that we are doing this, because I think your voice and everything is going to be very powerful, and to reach, I'm sure I'm going to reach a lot of people, because it's something that you really want to hear. It gives you that peace of mind that yes, I'm on the right path, like I'm feeling right now. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm going to come back to you again and again for various things, but thank you for being here now, and can't wait to see you again and, discuss several other things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Priyanka. And also, my son and I have a platform called The Integrity Economy. It's at theintegrityeconomy.com, and I have the maverickmamamethod.com. So after doing this for so many years, I am actually starting to share how I did things and what I'm doing out there. So it'd be great.
We will put all the links. We will put all your links, and do share your website and everything so that I can put in the video links, and everything will be directed to you. I can't wait to share your work with other people as well, because that's how, we have to build this community stronger and bolder, right? So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so
Anything
much.
I can do for you, Priyanka, let me know, and keep going. This is amazing work you're doing. Keep spreading it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.